Joining us now is Montgomery County Council President Gabe Albornoz. Thank you so much for being here. So you're also running for an at-large seat, but I want to talk about you being the president. You were elected in December, and it wasn't an easy time. First, you had an uptick in violence, and you also had to deal with the new strain of a coronavirus for Maryland's most populous county. So talk about ways that you're able to lead and navigate the most populous county in Maryland through such a difficult time.
Well, thanks, Tasmin. It's a pleasure to be on the show, and it has been an extraordinary year, but I feel like my experiences having worked in the previous administration as the director of the Recreation Department and then serving 3 years on the council just as the pandemic was hitting and chairing the Health and Human Services Committee sort of prepared me well for the challenges that laid ahead. And I so enjoy working with my 8 colleagues on the council. And we have a phenomenal executive branch and staff that work extraordinarily hard every day on behalf of all of our county residents. And there were a lot of lessons learned from the beginning of the pandemic, even as we evolved into different strains. And the uptick in violence was alarming, to say the least. And we've seen just the sheer volume and number of guns that have entered into our community is a huge challenge.
Yeah, there was a fear because a number of incidents where kids were bringing ghost guns to school.
That's right. And there was the incident at Magruder High School, which was the first shooting within a high school in the history of Montgomery County, and we're certainly hoping it's the last, but preparing for the worst. And ghost guns in general are a huge issue that are facing local jurisdictions across this country. We've been aggressive. We passed legislation almost 2 years ago now to ban the sale of ghost guns in Montgomery County, and our General Assembly has followed, but they continue to be rampant in our community because they can be purchased online, and these are weapons that are too often getting in the hands of our children.
And I want to talk about, you serve on the Public Safety Committee, and just last month you were part of passing legislation that creates and establishes a new program. It's like Private Security Incentive Program. Now, my understanding is that pretty much people could get money through vouchers and rebates to putting up a security camera, and the idea and goal behind it is to make sure that if something happens, there's an extra set of eyes that the police could use, which sounds great, but how exactly would this all work and play out, and who actually would be paying for the rebates and the vouchers?
So great question. And one of the things that I noticed as I was knocking doors through this campaign season is that public safety is among the most important issues on people's minds, particularly people that live in more urban areas. And we know that similar programs have been very successful in the District of Columbia, actually, and in other parts of the country. And so we also know that these cameras work in helping to solve crimes, but also in helping to deter them. But too often, our residents and small businesses can't afford them. And so we didn't want that cost to be a barrier, because it costs a lot more on the back end, both in terms of police time, but also just general community concern. And so we felt this was a valuable investment. And so we're trying this out. It's a pilot program for people that are interested. They just need to contact their local police station. And this program would be facilitated and managed by our police department. And we'll be checking in frequently, to see how it's going, what the data that comes back from it. And it's important to note that anybody who is interested in participating in this program should call the local police department, their police district, and they'll be able to get more information.
And you're also the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee. You're a busy man. And I want to talk about efforts to combat monkeypox.
Yes.
Because the last time that I checked the Maryland Department of Health dashboard, there are more than 60 confirmed cases of monkeypox just in Montgomery County. So what are you doing to make sure residents get vaccinated, but not just its availability, that there isn't a disparity as to who gets the vaccine?
So there were a lot of lessons learned throughout the pandemic, and we're following a very similar roadmap in helping to make sure that the few vaccines that are available to the county to disseminate are going to both the communities that have been the hardest hit, but within those communities, people that have a harder time accessing because of a lack of health coverage or general public health information. So we are targeting those people that are disproportionately being impacted by monkeypox, but we also want to make sure that the public is aware that we do have services available, and we want to ensure that there's equity, both not only in how we disseminate the vaccine, but how we're informing our public, because this has disproportionately impacted our LGBTQ community, and we have to ensure that we don't repeat mistakes of the past, and that we understand that everyone should feel safe and welcome and supported, and that's what we are trying to do.